the same Porfirio Diaz, had embarked on a path of conquest, and had subjugated almost everything and everyone in Mexico. Only the state of Sonora had fought them off and remained free. But Sinaloa and Chihuahua, under Diaz and the Senorita, had allied themselves against Sonora, and that state's days seemed to be numbered. The Senorita let everyone know that after Sonora, she also planned to come north and reclaim the Arizona territory for herself and Diaz. The Senorita had spouted that theory one too many times, and Catherine's children decided it was time to stop speculating on Sinaloa and its empire from hell and find out what was really going on. In the letter, they had characterized their expedition as a reconnaissance mission and fact-finding operation. They quoted Sun Tzu's dictum, "Know thy enemy." They believed they would return with indispensable intelligence, which will determine the survival or the extinction of El Rancho del Cielo. As Frank had once observed, the two young people suffered the curse of Odysseus, incurable curiosity, which will lead only to cyclopes, sirens, Ciulla, Charybdis, and witches who turn people into swine, Catherine had added. Then why are they doing it? Frank had asked. They like living close to the bone, on the razor's edge, on the hair trigger's trembling touch. In other words, they're like their mother was when she was their age, Frank had answered. Catherine had been abducted by the Apache as a child, and Frank believed the experience had left her with a wild, rebellious streak, and there was some truth to his theory. But contrary to much rumor and false report, Catherine was not made of stone, and was not impervious to fear or anxiety. And now Catherine was facing something more unbearable. Frank had always been a dynamo of indefatigable energy. Not only was he the foremost surgeon in the entire American Southwest, and not only was he running that region's most modern, scientifically advanced surgical hospital, he was also indispensable in running and expanding the ranch and their mines. Now, however, he was constantly in bed and devastatingly exhausted. Even worse, over the last several months, he'd begun experiencing intestinal pain. Then came the diagnosis, terminal abdominal cancer. And her children were down in Mexico, incommunicado. Catherine secretly feared that all she and Frank could do was hope that their children were safe and wait the disease out. Until finally Frank's suffering came to its inevitable end. Catherine, however, was not good at waiting things out, which was why she'd come up to the San Carlos Mountains to meet with her lifelong friend and mentor, Spirit Owl. Seated earlier that morning in his heat lodge, a brush wickiup filled with aromatic smoke and scorchingly hot steam, Spirit Owl had spoken to her of her children. Everyone is an individual with a different destiny. You have to learn to leave people alone. Frank, as well as your children. You have to learn to let them choose and follow their destinies. You have to stop manipulating everyone. If I had adopted that attitude 20 years ago, there would be no Rancho del Cielo. It has survived and thrived precisely because I have, when necessary, told people what to do, even when they resisted. It's survived because I have run it with an iron hand. But you run the lives of those you love with that same iron hand, even when they need kindness and understanding. I can't help interfering in their lives if they are hurting themselves and those around them. Non-interference in such situations isn't love. You came to me because you're depressed. That's because, in truth, you don't do good deeds for their own sake. You do good works because you live to control people. Now you feel that control slipping through your fingers. Frank is ill. Your children are in Mexico. You can't manipulate them, and you mourn the loss of your power. Richard and Rachel went down to Mexico and into the heart of hell. You're saying I shouldn't have tried to stop?